everybody. You're listening to and watching the Comic Book Bears podcast. I'm Bill Zanowitz.
And I'm Steve Morey.
And we are your hairy, heavy homos that talk about comic books, but you don't have to be a hairy, heavy homo to listen in. And we are back with you. We had hoped to have more than two of us here in the virtual cave or whatever the hell you want to characterize this at.
The back alley with the brick wall.
Caleb has a very good excuse for not being with us because he took the bar exam this week. Yay on that. And he is in one of my favorite places in the continental United States right now, which is Key West. I hope you very much enjoy your vacation with Roger. And, you know, he was even advocating for possibly calling in. And I was with Team Roger on this one. Like, just go on vacation.
Just enjoy that beautiful place that you're staying at. Enjoy cocktails. And,
have you ever been there?
The beach. I've never been.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think that's something you would like. I think it's a speed you would like. You know, because there's like the things that you would like. I mean, I loved going to the Hemingway house and seeing the descendant cats with the 6 toes, and if you want to take it like nice and easy, it's a nice place to do it. If you want to just get hammered, from 10 o'clock in the morning on, you can do that too.
Sure. Everybody.
Naturally a very big LGBT community there, but at the same token, it mixes well. Let's put it that way.
Well, that's great.
And I know a lot of people, like bash like the touristy thing, like applauding when the sun sets and shit. But it's so much fun there. I really, really enjoy being there. And one of my favorite things is to drive down A1A through the Keys. Oh my God! Like
that whole giant. That bridge. The bridge.
That would be one thing where that would be like one of our field trips if I win the Mega Millions. It'll be our R4 in a rented, very nice convertible, picking a day and just going down, staying over the night,
hitting
and
every
back.
comic shop on the way.
There's no comic shops, dude. There's no comic
something
shops.
Off the wall.
I'm
sure there's no comic shops anywhere in that part.
No.
But driving down to Florida, before you get there,
but
we'll hit those up.
We'll get key lime pie. That's like for real key lime pie. We can do that. You'll enjoy it. You don't like key lime pie?
It's too tart.
Oh, you're a freak. And then we'll go to Coral Castle too. Probably on the way up because it's on the other side of A1A, so it's easier. And that place is spooky as shit. So
really?
If you have never learned about it, it's the subject of the Billy Idol song "Sweet 16." If you know the do anything, and it's how I discovered it was as a kid on an episode of In Search of. So it's a paranormal hotbed, and look it up. It's a lot of fun. It's especially fun, if you're sharing it with people. If you're by yourself, it's scary shit at night. So.
I do want to apologize. We do have a couple guests that are up here in my podcasting office, palace. Minerva is chewing on something, and if she's not chewing, then she would be doing something else, and I'd rather not her do anything else.
So whatever she's chewing, it's
sleeping at my feet.
Hi, Marlon.
She's supposed to be chewing.
Hey, old man.
Down here, having a snooze at my feet.
That's nice. Yeah. And where's the kitty?
So if you hear, she's. Who knows? She's probably sitting on the windowsill or trying to climb up a bookshelf and talk with the canary.
No.
She likes making friends with the birds.
So anyway, what we're going to do tonight, we have a couple things on the docket here. And first up, we are going to be talking about in terms of the the meat of the episode, let's put it that way. The recent Marvel movie Thor Love and Thunder has been released, and we've finally seen it. In my case, after on its third weekend, I finally go to see it. Feeling all safe, in the movie theater, and a little bit freaked out what was going on next door because there were a lot of kids for the Minions film. Still at this point, but I guess I don't want to get sick. You're
gonna have to probably brave it this weekend because guess what comes out this weekend?
Oh, I'm going to do that another time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm going to go on either Wednesday or Friday morning.
Oh, good. Yeah, it's going to be empty.
Well, even though it's a kids' film, it'll be less empty then. But I'm not hitting it this weekend. And of course, we're talking about the movie I am looking forward to the most out of all the superhero films, which is League of Super Pets.
Oh yeah.
So we're going to be talking about. Yeah. Oh, if you've got people that joined us, please let's see who's here. David Toby, hey, the
David.
Qual of Comics.
The Qual of Comics, love it.
Yep.
And then, of course, our good friend John Runyon. Oh,
Lordy!
Assemble. A bit of meat in Thor movie. Agreed. Yes. We'll talk about a bit of meat in the Thor movie.
Yeah, whatever.
We'll talk about Thor.
Look at my reactions. That's a precursor. We're also going to be covering a lot of the news and developments that came out of San Diego Comic-Con that wrapped up last weekend. And we each have, one or two books we're going to talk about. Not going to be a book-intensive episode because of the other stuff we're going to be covering. We're going to start off with our Geek Gets. And Steve, did you get anything in the geek fashion gets that were not comic books that we can show off to the people? I have a few.
Yeah, I got a couple things because, of course, every time that there's a Marvel movie tie-in at McDonald's, I try to get as many of the toys as I can. A lot of times they sell out, or I go to pick up and I'm stuck with a Sonic the frickin' Hedgehog or Snow White or whatever, whatever kind of toy they can dig up.
Oh my God, Scoob!
I got Scoob for a year,
2 years.
2 years in a row. I got Scoob, which was a fun movie, by the way. I recommend Scoob if you haven't seen it because it's cute. But I went and I got a couple more. 2 more that I didn't have, of Rocket Raccoon and, of course, the Mighty Thor.
I got the Golden Armor Thor.
Which is awesome. So that's one I don't have. I had, so far I've got Valkyrie. I've got Thor with just Stormbringer. And, of course, Groot, who looks really weird, but that's just the... Whatever.
Apparently Mighty Thor is very hard to find. Of the toys. Apparently that's the one that people are having a lot of problems with. And you do have it.
I do have her.
You special. That's great. You so special.
I don't have the goats. So I don't
I'd
have
love
the
goats
yet. I don't have, a couple of the other ones. But yeah, so who knows if they'll still have them after this weekend, because, usually they only stick around for about 4 weeks before they're either completely sold out or they go on to the next tie-in.
It's also been frustrating because we've seen on the international front that another Happy Meal promotion that's been happening in Australia and Singapore has been League of Super Pets. And so far, no indication. I have a feeling that if it doesn't happen, they may time it with the home video release. Because the toys are made. I don't think... there have been some that have been, specific to certain regions that haven't hit in the States, but it's rare. So, and maybe we'll walk into McDonald's on Friday and that'll be the new promotion. Who knows?
You never know.
You never know. And then I will be eating a shitload of Happy Meals.
You don't have to buy the whole Happy Meal. You can just go in and get the toy.
You can buy the toy, but they're a pain in the ass with that around me. Oh, man.
Oh, really? Oh, that's...
There was one store that was, beautiful. They would, put it in the Happy Meal bucket. Mm-hmm. And then they got to the thing where they would only sell it if you bought all 8. And I'm like, perfect,
Yeah,
to do multiple trips. And then they changed management there, and now they're not as nice. Yeah.
Well, here, the stores don't even get all of the toys. They'll get, 1 or 2 of the varieties, and then nothing else. Or, a couple weeks later, they'll get some new ones. But it's just you have to be careful. You have to ask which ones they have, and half the time the person working the counter is like, I don't know, the Thor one? And I'm like,
So, you were talking about things, and again, there's some regional issues about, look at him.
So David's tempting Bill here by saying,
David,
someone in those Australian Pacific regions who was traveling.
Well,
to be near
if you
soon.
are going to one of those establishments and think of it, I would appreciate it. Let's put it that way. But don't feel like you're under any obligation, because eat healthy, please. Not just the apples.
You don't have to eat the toys. I just want the apples and a milk. I just want the milk and the apples. Thanks.
But we were talking about regional differences, and one regional difference, and this is tying directly into my Geek Gets, is that the McFarlane reissue. Well, they can't even call them reissues, but they have now put out a line of Superpowers toys through McFarlane, and they have hit stores in the Pacific Northwest and in mostly the Eastern South, but not every place has hit them yet. And I'm dying. There's only 5 items that are out. There's a Darkseid figure, a Batman figure, a Superman figure, a Supermobile, and a Batwing. That's the first wave, and it's an affordably priced line. The vehicles have an SRP of $20. So,
wow, that is cheap.
Yeah, really want to get these, but I haven't seen them yet. But I have been able to collect a full line and of McFarlane toys. So I have all of the Page Punchers, and these are
cool.
These are fairly small figures that come with a reprint of a notable character, notable comic book relative to the character that's the figure's being made of. So I have Batman here, and that's a reprint of Batman 608, which is the start of the Hush saga. Flashpoint #1 is here for the Flash. Superman Rebirth #1 is there for Superman. And there's a variant cover of Black Adam Endless Winter Special for Black Adam. So this is the entire first wave. I had pre-ordered these, but they're, again, a very sensible price point. They're $10.
Yeah,
figures are a little small, I'll admit it, but that's okay. And I'm still expecting my pre-orders to come in, and once those come in, some of these will come out, and the books will become part of my comic collection, and the toys will become guardians of graphic novels on the shelves or something, and we'll take it from there. So I do have the entire first wave of that, and I'm starting to get speaking of Black Adam, toys are hitting the market of the Black Adam figures that are tied into the movie. So I have, this is from Spin Master. There's Black Adam here and Cyclone, and I was also able to get Dr. Fate. I still need Atom Smasher, and I still need Hawkman, and there's also a toy of Hawkman's ship that has his figure. What happened there?
Oh, she surprised herself by accidentally rolling off the bed.
Oh, okay.
She's lying right there, very sweet. But then she accidentally rolled herself off and knocked over the little table.
Yeah. But yeah, it's gonna be like but it's gonna be a bit of a year for toy purchases, because again, there's still items to get in the Black Adam line. As I mentioned, the Superpowers line. I'm getting the Black Adam Funko Pops. Legion of Super Pets has a toy line which hasn't hit yet, from, I believe, Fisher Price. I think we're done with Batman, the Batman film. I think we're done with that, but it's it's like one of those situations with the Wally, fly bitches fly, I need my toys. So
who needs those cashes?
I don't.
Those dollar bills.
I need them all. I need all the money.
All the toys.
All the money.
You must have. Oh,
yeah.
That's
all right. Enough with that.
Enough. Wow.
This is the worst birthday party I've ever been to. Lordy. Okay, we gotta stop before we get in trouble. So I don't know with who, but we'll get in trouble with someone. Somebody. Yeah. Yes, Batman was this year.
Batman was this year. It came out in March, which is 4 months ago now, almost 5. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of like, half the year has gone. Since that movie, which is it's coming up fast. But speaking of, We'll talk about speaking of movies that have come out this year. The latest one was Thor: Love and Thunder, which is the fourth. He is the first MCU character who's had a fourth solo movie. Obviously, there were the 4 Avengers movies. 5 technically if you count Civil War, but
he wasn't in Civil War. Thor was not in Civil War.
Avengers were, there were 4
the
Avengers
win, but Thor's not in that film.
I know. But there are 4 Avengers movies, and then technically 5 Avengers movies if you count Civil War. But Thor's the first one to have 4 solo movies.
Yep.
Which is kind of a surprise. I mean, if you said this 10 years ago, that Thor, there's going to be 3 more of these, I would not have believed you at all, because it just sounds ridiculous. Especially after that first one, which was a great introduction to the character, but it was a little rough. And the second one...
my feeling is it's rough in retrospect.
Yeah. It was still the coolest thing ever to get to see something like this.
Yeah. I still have a lot of affection for the first film.
I certainly love the characters that they introduced. I love Darcy. Darcy's just one of my favorite, side character, comic relief people that they have in there in the MCU. But... the second one kind of was not universally, but was kind of the one that people said, oh, this is probably the bottom tier of Marvel movies that have been released. I didn't hate it. I actually enjoyed a lot of the interaction with Thor and Loki, which was kind of a huge part of that movie, is that relationship. But then, of course, Thor Ragnarok came along and was a huge sea change for the style, the feel, and just sort of even the color of the movie, of the franchise there for Thor. And of course, a big part of that was Taika Waititi, who directed it and was one of the main writers. But he was brought back, obviously, which is a great decision for this movie. And I think it kind of brings in that same feel from Thor Ragnarok into the new Thor Love and Thunder, which, again, if you're not a big fan of that type of movie making or that type of, humor, then this might not have been your favorite Thor. So, do we want to...
Yeah, well, why don't you give a basic plot, and then we can go into what we felt about it, because I don't think we're on the same page.
No. We talked about this before. This is not a surprise how we feel about this movie, to each other anyway. So Thor: Love and Thunder picks up after the events of Endgame, where Thor has joined the Guardians of the Galaxy on their galactic guarding that they do. And in the meantime, of course, through a wonderful opening sequence, he's shown that he's lost all of the chubby fat Thor. Sad for me, but he looks good, I guess, and is now back to full Thor fighting style, with a lot of extra cheese and a lot of extra goofy humor thrown into boot. He heads back. He hears about some potential disturbance of some person who's going around killing gods, and this is...
You should mention who he's hanging with at the beginning of the film, though.
Well, he's hanging with the Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah. You gotta say it.
So he's... Yeah. Well, no, that's what I said. He went off, he joins the Guardians of the Galaxy, he's
okay, I didn't hear that part. I did not hear you say Guardians of the Galaxy.
Right. He's having a lot of goofy adventures with them. I think the Guardians, for their part, really don't necessarily appreciate his presence there all that much, especially not Star-Lord. In fact, he's kind of sick of the fact that this guy's stealing all of his thunder. Ha ha ha. But Thor hears about Gorr, this character who's going around killing gods. We are introduced to Gorr, who is the big bad of the movie, through a very, I would say, emotional sequence. Towards the beginning again, to explain why he's doing these things. He has a daughter who dies, and and he meets his god, which people should never do, and finds that his god's an ass. And he is given a very interesting sword, that allows him to kill gods, or at least beings that purport to be gods. And has been going on a murderous spree across the galaxy.
It does have a cool name.
Yeah, the
Necrosword.
Necrosword. Which is something that's relatively new for people who are readers of Venom and the recent Marvel Super Mega crossover of what was that? What was the name of it? That had the
War of the
symbiote god.
War of something.
Something. Comment below. Basically, I didn't read any of it because I just kind of King in Black. Yes,
King in Black.
David. Yeah, King in Black.
There comes the King in Black.
It's fine. But anyway, so Thor flies back to New Asgard, which is in somewhere off of Norway on Earth, and is there to help out. Now, in the meantime, of course, there's been a lot that's been going on on Earth and New Asgard. We're reintroduced to Jane, Dr. Jane, who is unfortunately dying of cancer, she reveals, and of course Valkyrie, who is the king of the Asgards, and is kind of bored with being sort of government head.
Yeah. She's bored of the bureaucracy.
She's bored of the bureaucracy. And meanwhile, Jane is bored of dying. She's really not a big fan of it. And she feels herself called to New Asgard, where the pieces of Mjolnir have been calling to her, and they react to her presence. When Thor shows up, unfortunately, Gorr has already arrived, and is starting to attack New Asgard. He arrives just in time, which is great, but also confronts what appears to be a new Thor, who, fans of the comics already have seen this coming, and of course from all the previews, it is Jane is the Mighty Thor, the wielder of the new reconstituted Mjolnir.
Yes, because she is worthy.
She is very worthy.
She is worthy.
She is working all of that Thorness, which is awesome. But yeah, so there's a lot of emotions, everything, and of course from there they set off after Gorr kidnaps all of the children of New Asgard. They have a fresh quest to go and rescue all these children and defeat the God Butcher, and go on some interesting adventures on there. We're introduced to other gods, other canonical Marvel gods. We're introduced to a very powerful presence in the Marvel universe that's been sort of like one of the big, beyond celestial, beyond everything in the Marvel universe. And also introduced to a new surprise character that I think we've all been waiting for as well. Now we are going to have some spoilers when we talk about this at the end.
I think we've already had a ton here. Yeah.
So we've had some spoilers, but not a lot. So what happens and who does what. But yeah. So Bill, how did you feel about this movie?
Okay, so when I was first asked about this, what I thought, I said it was okay. I still think it's a film, obviously worth seeing. Hemsworth is, born to play this role. All the other actors and actresses equate themselves, to varying degrees, but very well. My main problem was the tone of the film was too schizophrenic. And Taika Waititi, I absolutely adored Jojo Rabbit. And Jojo Rabbit had a beautiful balance between the insane and what had true emotional resonance. It was a very well-balanced film in that aspect. And it kind of disappointed me that the same filmmaker who was responsible for that was responsible for this. The film tonally is too schizophrenic. You'll have, comedic scene, and then that harrowing bit where Gorr has the children and decapitates something. the flow of it was just too sputtered and spiky, and it just didn't gel for me. And that was the frustration, I think, for me. I think there could have been a very emotionally powerful film there on top of the humor, but it just didn't have the balance it needed for me. Where I think Ragnarok did, there isn't a hell of a, again, we are saying goodbye to Asgard in Ragnarok, but it did have a very nice balance. This just didn't have the cohesion that I think it needed to be, one of the better entries in the MCU. I'm not this MCU hater, far from it. I think every film has been worth seeing, including The Dark World, including Hellstrom. Yes, until you got Feige putting his hand on the Bible, that's part of the MCU. I think, as boring as parts of Moon Knight was, I think everything so far it's worth seeing. Even the lesser seasons of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I do think that they've, basically continued to hit things out of the park. With this one, though, I felt that there could have been a lot better balance to the tone of the film.
I'm not going to disagree with you. I think that there were a lot of, I would say, uneven presentations of how we were supposed to, as an audience, react to a film, and that's very related to the filmmaker themselves. How they want to present this film, what their personality is in this. I really appreciated a lot of that, though, because a lot of the big moments either had something to kind of balance it a little bit. So there was always a little bit of humor thrown in with the really, hard stuff. And, even with all the humor, there was always some kernel of darkness there. That I think maybe it's a very Kiwi way of filmmaking, that there's always something there that's either going to show the absurdity of the absurdity of the darkness, or the dark kernel of absurdity. There's something there. And I appreciate that. I love that style of Taika's, and I thought it was a lot of fun to see that. But I will agree with you in the fact that it feels like, and it's no shock that this is actually one of the shortest of the MCU movies. It felt like there were some expansive moments, maybe some more of those quiet, like drawn out, balanced scenes or situations that were cut. Either removed completely or shortened to just like a few moments or a few minutes that could have helped, with making more of a flow as opposed to spike. I appreciated the breadth of what was shown here. So we get to see a beautiful planet out in the middle of nowhere, Crazyville, that's very Guardians of the Galaxy, something that they've encountered in their films. We get to see Earth and New Asgard. We get to see the planet of the gods, or basically like the city of the gods. I forget the ridiculous name they gave to it, like Eternalopolis or Divineopolis or something like that. And we get to see just sort of the creativity of, of all these sort of gods and creatures that Taika wanted to put in here. So you have Maori deities, you've got the Greek deities, you've got...
I had to look it up. It's Omnipotent City.
Omnipotent City, yeah. Omnipotent City, yeah. I mean, it's ridiculous, but, get to see all of these really, great, well-represented figures in what's essentially a very silly scene. That whole section there where they're hiding as emotional gods so that they can sneak into this big quorum. And of course, we're introduced to Russell Crowe hamming it up as Zeus, which I really appreciate.
I love that they let him do the shitty Greek accent, and I thought
I am Zeus.
I thought he stole every second of the 11 minutes of the film he was in.
Oh,
I thought he was
fun.
wonderful. I thought he was so much fun. Yep.
Oh, and of course there was Bao, the god of dumplings, which was very,
Yeah.
very adorable.
And hey, Nani Nani.
Nani Nani. Hey, Nani Nani on his throne of what was he was on a throne of like broken forks or something. There was some there was like this real big goofy, a lot of stuff that's been talked about.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I really enjoyed all of that. But one thing that I did want to highlight was that this is probably the gayest Marvel movie, the gayest MCU film, and because like basically you have. You've got Valkyrie, so there's a lot of, there's some sexual tension between her and Mighty Thor, or between Jane.
Well, that's interesting because I didn't see that as sexual tension. I thought it was a very legitimate depiction of bras instead of bros.
Oh yeah, no.
I immediately bought their friendship. Immediately.
Absolutely. There is absolutely friendship there, but there's there can be a platonic friendship with underlying sexual tension. I mean, we've watched it in many shows before. Lots of relationships are kind of like that, which is, and it was good to see that as something that could exist in the Marvel universe. That wasn't just sort of like, oh yeah, Valkyrie's a lesbian, but she's totally not into you. No, she's definitely
I'm just trying to
Team
think
Mighty Thor.
Is there more of the
Team
gay?
Jane. We're on the same team here in that comment. But also, there's several other moments. Heimdall's son, who started out as what was his name?
Astra. Astra. Now he's Axel because of his discovery of Guns N' Roses from that time of Earth,
which I thought was really great. So we've got we have a trans character that's introduced, and of course the rock people that his long-term companion from Ragnarok belongs to are all men. They're agender. They're agender. They use he for everything, and of course, at the end of the film and the wrap up, and he meets his match, who has like a very obvious handlebar mustache, and they have a baby together. It's very adorable. But yeah, I mean, there's definitely a lot of sort of queer moments here. And even in Omnipotent City, Zeus's entourage is made up. His harem is made up of women and men, who of course all faint when Thor is revealed en flagrante delicto, completely naked. But I think that this was very interesting because it was not forced. It didn't feel forced. It felt like, hey, guess what? These are gods are always, they're pansexual. Like this is a big thing. We're gonna talk about it. And here are some characters that, by the way, are gay. Ha ha ha. Or at least non-traditional genders, non-binary genders or non-traditional sexualities, and that, for a main Marvel movie, I think that's pretty cool. And I don't know about you, but I didn't hear Disney cooing and yelling and talking about how wonderfully gay it was from the rafters. We've got gay characters. We're going to have gay moments in this movie, like they have in previous films that they've really touted as, oh look, here's your moment. It was just, there it is. We've got. Yeah. You go to see Thor, you're going to have some gay stuff. Surprise, for people who weren't expecting it. But I don't know, I enjoyed it. And of course, who was introduced in the very last mid-credit sequence was
Roy Kent.
Yes, Roy Kent. Roy Kent was introduced. It turns out he is Zeus's son, which we all knew.
Fucking A.
Mr. Brett Goldstein, in his extremely hairy, pectoral situation, is introduced in a very short 3 seconds as Hercules. So he is going to be playing Hercules going forward. They'll probably he's going to have the next couple of years to go on the Marvel leading man, workout regime, so he can actually, look bigger. Although he's perfect, I like him. But
and again, like, I wish I enjoyed the movie more. I keep going back to the end scene where we have like effectively a passing of the torch. I don't know how to characterize it with Gorr and Love
Yeah.
and Jane, and it just felt that if there had been that better cohesion, it would have had more of an impact on me, because there are moments that like this movie actually does have happy endings.
Yeah.
you know and I think sometimes with Marvel films we're kind of used to like the non-ending. This was a complete story.
Yeah.
And I just wish I felt it more, and the only culprit that I can point to for not feeling it more was just how schizophrenic the film was, in the 90 minutes prior to.
I can understand that, and just coming to say it, this is another movie where another Marvel movie where the villain dies at the end, where they kill the villain off. But in this one, it felt like there was value in that death.
Yes,
because he's redeemed in that moment. This isn't a like fuck you to my dying breath kind of thing, and then push him off a cliff or something. No. This is one where he's like, everything I've been doing is for the memory of my daughter. If I can bring her back, can you care for her? Can you make sure that she thrives? Because she's my heart. She's the reason that I've been doing this, and it makes sense. And Thor saying absolutely was really a great moment. And also the Jane, she dies in this film, but we see her in Valhalla.
Yeah. And it was also nice to see that like this was the Mighty Thor of Jason Aaron's run. They got that completely right. If that was what their aim was, that was, if you had just read that, that first graphic novel, the first 5, that made up the first Thor series, it's literally like that version of Jane Foster stepped off the page. Yeah. It really was. That element they did very, very nicely, I thought.
Yeah, and I think it was just a great service to the character, and it was just it was a great service to the character, and I think they really did make a very heroic Mighty Thor, not just Lady Thor, which they did make fun of. They brought that in, that sort of like Lady Thor.
But again, there did feel like there were moments of forced humor, like her searching for her battle cry, and I'm just not used to that in his films, because What We Do in the Shadows has a wonderfully organic feel. It feels like that. It feels like a completely improvised piece. I know it's not, but
there's some of that, but then also
there's just a lot of his work is a beautiful organic feel to it, and this just didn't have it. Yeah.
Well, I like looking at this, and having watched Our Flag Means Death recently, that these kind of like moments with characters talking in what you would kind of not normally see. You wouldn't have these conversations as front and center conversations in a serious film where they're talking about like, oh, which battle cry? Oh, did you like that? Was that pretty good? I don't know. I'm still trying it out. And also moments like having all of the Asgardian kids get the power of Thor and like killing things with stuffed
the
animals.
bunny rabbit.
The bunny rabbit. Like, I mean, this kind of stuff it was fun and crazy and wild, but I think just kind of, for me, I'm like, this is kind of what I expect from Taika Waititi. I expect some sort of childlike delight with getting to play with all of these toys in fun new ways, and that's kind of how I felt about this movie. So I really enjoyed it.
Okay. All right. On the subject of movies, there were a bunch that were announced at San Diego Comic-Con, and there's a bunch of other literal comic books, some news in that area. So, and it was really nice seeing friends of the show at San Diego Comic-Con the last few, was getting reports back from Ed Cato and Chris Cummins and Jack Foster and a bunch of people. Ed Luce, just a bunch of people. It was really cool seeing how they were doing with that. And but I was at home watching Marvel's shitty coverage. Oh, woo! What, all right, here we go. I have an opportunity to do it. La Bamba. Marvel's coverage was garbage. Oh my God, it was just not good. But at least there was content for me to watch. You had that. You had Entertainment Tonight had a lot of like these little mini panels that they got together of people, and some of them, particularly Ghosts and Strange New Worlds, were very interesting. So
that was a joy to see
yeah,
the Ghost
and it's
panel.
Ghosts. It was so weird seeing them out of character. It was like, oh my God, it really like it. And it seems that it's a cast that really gets along. That was the feel I got. Yeah. But
they actually have a rapport outside, and
yeah.
I think two of them, like it was funny. They two of them were talking about driving them, like after something had to get shut down by COVID. Some of the filming, like several of them were like driving back, home together because they live in the same place. They're carpooling and stuff, and they're talking about things, which I thought was just a lot of fun. A lot of good stories on that panel.
Yeah, and nice to hear they got a 22 episode order. Yes, that's like nearly unheard of right now.
So now they're going to have double the number of episodes that the original UK Ghosts has. Sadly, but they are different shows. Similar, same concept, same origin, different shows. But yeah, like you said, lots of movie news and lots of comic book news, which I don't usually think of San Diego Comic-Con as the place where people make a lot of comic book announcements, because usually they're overshadowed by the movies.
All right, so why don't you start taking us through some of that?
So, how about I just do like sandwich, and I do like comic news and then movie news. Let's do that.
Whatever. Just get to it.
Okay. So speaking of Jason Aaron, of Mighty Thor and Thor.
Speaking of the bump.
Yeah. Someone's not a big fan of
let me tell you, I really like his writing, and I've talked with people, including Caleb and Brian Newberry, a number of people about this, and I have, I've stayed with his Avengers straight through, and it's unsatisfying, and I don't know why I stayed around so long. It just never gelled. And again, the project that you're talking about, and look here, like Avengers 2018. Look, books and books and books and books. They're all mine. I have the whole run. Heroes Reborn, which tied directly into his run. I have the whole thing. It just never kicked in. It never gelled. I don't think he's that good at team books. I think that may be the issue. But the project that you're talking about, his Avengers Assemble, is going to bring all of these threads together, and that will be the end of his run. And at this point, like, I may as well see it through.
Well, that's the thing. Like, he's not everybody, unless you're maybe Hickman or Bendis, gets the chance to take everything that you've been doing and put it all together. And you can see the kitties here.
Okay,
this is Mafanwi, everybody. Put it all together and finish it out in the way that hopefully he wants to finish it out, by bringing back the 1 million BC Avengers and the Avengers Forward,
the Avenger Forever and the Forward,
Avengers Forever and the present day Avengers, and put them all together and let all the threads that he's been building play out. Hopefully he gets to tie a good bow on that entire work that he's been working on. So that'll be coming out this fall after AXE finishes, the Avengers, X-Men, and Eternals Judgment Day crossover is happening now. Now for movie news, we actually had some more information. We had some trailers that were released on the DC side. We had a full trailer released for Shazam 2, which looks great. Lots of fun. You've got everybody in costume. Everybody's kind of gelling with their in their superhero identities, except for Shazam himself. Billy is, basically telling the entire or narrating the whole trailer, talking to a
and
therapist.
let's also get the title. It's Shazam: Fury of the Gods.
Fury of the Gods.
I want to make sure that
Fury
gets out
of the
there.
Gods, not Electric Boogaloo, which it should be. But
No, it should never be that.
should always be
Never.
Anything with a 2. Shazam
Never.
2.
No.
But anyway, and of course, we can't have Shazam Fury of the Gods without mentioning the other movie that is coming out this year, in a couple months, called Black Adam, that has been teased by The Rock for I don't know how many years, but it's now finally coming in November. And of course we got another trailer, this one with a lot bigger, a bigger look at Black Adam himself, as well as the other members of the Justice Society, Hawkman, more Adam Smasher.
The Dr. Fate snippets I saw,
Fate.
I was like, I was doing the happy clappy.
It really was.
I really do hope
Dr.
that's
Fate
the breakout character. I really do, because I think there could be a fantastic Dr. Fate movie. I think that's a character that would work so well cinematically.
Oh, absolutely.
If handled correctly. Yeah.
So we'll see, about that, because that does come out in a couple months. Now, we still don't know necessarily yet who the big bad is.
If you look at the toys, it's pretty clear Sabak has a role there, but that doesn't mean he's the only antagonist.
Sabak is in there as the toys, so kind of like anti-Shazam, anti-Black Adam, basically. But I keep hoping for sort of like a maybe a feel of the King Cobra, that whole situation from JSA where Adam Smasher kind of.
Oh, you mean Cobra?
Cobra, yeah.
Cobra with the K.
Yeah, Cobra with the K. Not Cobra with the C, because that's copyright infringement, but Cobra with a K. But yeah, there's some interesting stuff there that maybe they'll come out with. But who knows? We'll find out. We've still got 3 months left, so we've probably got 4 more versions of this trailer. Yeah. On the comic book front, again, also with DC, our friend of the show, love him to death. Cena Grace announced that he is going to, he's already done, a YA Superman book called Harvests of Youth. That has a young.
I'm so looking forward to this.
I'm so excited.
So looking forward to this.
I mean, I love Cena Grace's stuff. I love Cena Grace, but getting to see him, do this with Superman and getting to do an entire novel on this is going to be a lot of fun. So I'm looking forward to that graphic novel. MCU.
Oh, nothing happened. I was surprised there wasn't any announcements on that. Yeah.
I think Kevin Feige walked on stage, said nothing to see here, and walked off.
This was the headline, no question about it. That we had
so many things. I don't know. This year, I mean, we got the trailer for Wakanda Forever, which we really haven't seen anything from that. So we got to see the full. Yeah, Namor. We got to see Namor and all of his, lots of abs and pecs glory.
Yeah. I mean, not just Namor, but you're seeing, in that you have Namora, you have Tuma. There's a whole lot of Atlantean.
A lot of Atlanteans. You've got Riri, who's introduced. Basically coming to see Shuri and starting her work on her Ironheart suit. You've got Angela Bassett being awesome. There's just so much that's kind of highlighted there, and of course they're only giving you a little taste of what you might see. There's clips and snippets and hints, but we'll see everything when it comes to fruition later this year.
I didn't realize just how tall Winston Duke was.
He's a big dude.
He's a really tall dude. I mean, I did not realize how tall he was until you saw him against,
like everybody else.
Really.
Like, oh.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, there's some great stuff for this year. We've also got She-Hulk. They released the trailers for the new She-Hulk series, which comes out the end of August. And
She-Hulk Attorney at Law. You have to get the whole title in there, son.
Yeah. Yes. And then also I Am Groot, which are a series of shorts for Disney Plus that are also coming out. Groot, baby Groot mostly, in different shenanigans, which is a lot of fun. And some other announcements, Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur cartoon coming out, and a couple other things for this year. But what also happened is that people who were there got to see the Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania trailer, and you can see some bootlegs, as if you catch them at the right time before
they're taken down. And they also did receive some footage of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3.
Yes, a few little snippets from that. But one of the big things is the stuff that we didn't see the trailers for, but we did see, the slate was finally complete for next year and into 2024 for Phase 5. So we're getting to see all of those movies. Quantumania starts everything off. There's lots of shows. We've got the Agatha show on there. We've got,
Coven of Chaos.
Coven of Chaos. There's just so much.
I've got to get those full titles in.
You've got like the big slate for everything next year, including a surprise. And we want to mention this because
I thought there were two big surprises on that slate. Two big surprises.
One of them is a new series from a particular character who we didn't know was going to be coming back to the MCU until his appearance in No Way Home. Now is getting a new series. So Daredevil is coming back.
Born Again, 18 episodes.
Yep, 18 episodes.
So,
crazy. But yeah, I mean, there's just a
and also that this phase is going to end with a Thunderbolts film.
Yes,
and you've seen seeds of that with Julia Louis-Dreyfus as the Valentina, and you've seen some seeds mostly on the TV, mostly in some of the TV projects, but that's going to come into some form of fruition. Yeah.
So, which is pretty exciting. And then we've also got some other shows. Marvel,
and you did Ironheart too is a series. We didn't.
Ironheart is a series. These things we were kind of like we've already kind of heard about, but now are solidified on the schedule. Yeah. But then they did something wild, which is they put out. Oh, guess what? Here we already have some. Here's the basic roadmap for Phase 6. And it's going to start off with the Fantastic Four. So Fantastic Four is Phase 6, and this is 2025, so we got 2 years here. But Fantastic Four, and then it's going to end with, there's actually 2 Marvel movies that are going to be part of this. We're not sure if they're going to be back to back or
there's openings in the slots, but essentially the anchors are Avengers Kang Dynasty and Avengers Secret Wars. So
and the theme that we are told is multiverse. So this is going to be all multiverse all the time. Probably everything's going to get shattered, and of course from Secret Wars, I'm guessing it's going to be.
I get worried about that. I think they run the risk of overdoing it a bit.
They could.
We've had 2 good films that address this, and the issues of variance. I just hope it's well thought out, and it's not just a mechanism to correct the mistakes, which I worry about.
I mean, they might be planning as a way to potentially reboot, because actors are getting older.
I know this was the most sobering thought, and somebody posted online. Do you ever wonder what Marvel Cinematic Universe phase you're going to die during? That's a really sobering thought. That
where am I gonna see it? What am I am I gonna get to see this story before I pass, or is it gonna be in the next phase? I
mean, I'm determined. I know I'm gonna live long enough to see Superman's 100th anniversary in 2038. I'm confident of that. I have to. I have to.
100 years
but
of Superman.
It's a little, and I know we've talked about this with our Star Wars friends, that there's something very comforting knowing that some of these franchises are going to outlive us, but there's also something very sad that we're not going to be able to bear witness to the entirety of it. So
true.
Yeah.
Oh, at least unless we hang.
I don't know. Let's get off this morbid thought. We got enough the happier thoughts.
We can be ghosts and live in popcorn machines and tell the future for anybody who would listen. So that might be good.
Folks, that's a dig at someone. who's not here to defend themselves.
Not here to defend themselves.
Never will
David
be.
Mentions, or ever will be. Yeah, David mentions here, why aren't we getting a Taika-helmed mockumentary Thor series? That might be fun.
Oh,
I think,
are you kidding? Thor Core. Thor's Cops. Yeah. That would be so good with them doing it. Be beautiful.
Well, who knows? Maybe that's what Phase 7 is. Phase 7 might be all the shit that we threw at you in Secret Wars. Now they all get series. Who knows? But now that would be fun. But yeah, so, MCU is chock full for the next 2 years, so we know what's coming down the line for the next 2 years, and we know that something big is coming up in 25 and 26. So, lots of good stuff. And somewhere in there might be an X-Men. It's kind of sad that it's not technically going to be in Phase 5.
There was some speculation that there may be some situations in connection with the merger of why they have to wait a little longer for Deadpool 3 and for the X-Men to appear, but
we'll figure. I'm hoping they
if they we've had one development and we may have another. I'm sure with Namor they're most likely going to address that, so they're coming.
So
just hope it's a phase I'm still alive for.
Well, yeah, and of course, everything's going to get so there will be an Eternals 2 at some point. That address those strings.
Not necessarily an Eternals 2, but the Eternals will return, and Thor is a great vehicle to address that.
Thor 8, the only
Thor
one who gets multiple more seasons.
And it's nice to see with Chris Hemsworth just said, as long as you keep making them, I want to do them. Yeah. He's very happy to keep playing this character. So I'm,
he's going to.
If you told me, no matter what I said about Love and Thunder, if you told me that there were going to be more, like 4 more films like that, I'm okay with it. Yeah. They won't be my favorites, but I'm okay with it. Yeah.
I have a feeling he's going to be the next Harrison Ford. Like, he's going to be making action movies until his 80s. As long as they keep wanting him to do it, he'll do it. Hips be damned, and broken bones and twisted ankles. Mm-hmm. So yeah, there's a lot of great stuff, and obviously, check it all out if you want. Comics, some quick comic news. Greg Capullo and Todd McFarlane are going to be revisiting Batman and Spawn, which is really cool because that one. When was that? 96, 94, 90.
Oh no, the crossover was later. It was like 96 or so.
Okay. Yeah, so we're in the middle of the 90s. So it's been like almost
a long time, and
years.
It's also been a very long time since Capullo has drawn Spawn.
Yeah. So this will be interesting when it comes out. Yeah. Also, Dan Slott is coming back on the Spider-Man as just with non-superlative,
non-superlative Spider-Man, a monthly book with art by Mark Bagley.
Yeah, so we're getting
that's a team that is going to deliver on a monthly basis. Bagley's is a beast when it comes to, keeping to a monthly schedule. So, yeah, I'm happy. I'm happy about that. I'm the first to say that Slott stayed too long on Spider-Man the first time, but if he has a few good more stories, that are, especially if they're not necessarily the main book, I think that's ideal. If I can't get Marvel team up with Slott, I get this. I'm fine with that. Yeah,
you get what you want. There you go.
Yeah.
And then of course, there were plenty of other trailers that were released that are not necessarily comic book related. So you got the new Lord of the Rings series. You got the new,
which is what Comic-Con has become. Yeah,
exactly. Hollywood, like a big Hollywood, like, hey, this is our big, Netflix, Amazon Prime. We're all throwing our streaming services out. One thing though that did pop up obviously was the final trailer for Sandman and a lot of other information through the panels and through through the other stuff that came out. Sandman, which starts next Friday, the 5th of August. I'm like buzzing. There's a level of excitement that has been growing for the past 25 years for me. So it's just
now with Sandman, they're not releasing all the episodes at once, right?
No.
I don't know. I'm trying to remember if they had that information.
Netflix usually does do everything all at once, rather than go weekly. So I think for marketing series
but
like this,
they've had exceptions to that too, though. They've had exceptions to that too.
I have a
so
feeling that they're going to try and put all the
or maybe like a volume 1 and volume 2.
Could be, because they are doing the 2 first story arcs. So they're doing the Preludes and Nocturnes,
and then A Doll's House,
and then of course Doll's House. So if you did watch the final trailer that they did come out with, you may have spotted Martin Tenbones, which I went and did when he showed up briefly, and there's Barbie with Martin Tenbones, and you're just sort of like, for literally 0.5 seconds on screen. I'm like, this is going to happen. This character is going to be on screen. Pumpkinhead, Merv is going to be on screen. These are all things that, to me, little old 12, 13, 14-year-old me who was reading Sandman, just could never imagine ever being able to see as a film or a TV series or anything. So I'm super excited about it. And of course, there's a lot of others. None that was announced, but
I'm glad it's a TV series. I'm really glad that this format exists at this point, because I think a film of any of the arcs would have been too rushed. There's just so much there.
Too much. There's too much.
It's too much.
It's too much.
It's too much.
Hours to introduce these characters.
It's too much.
And of course they did release clips, so if you got to see Gwendolyn Christie and as Lucifer, and also with Mazikeen on display, you got to see Death in a wonderfully moving moment that immediately brought tears to my eyes. So this is definitely this is happening,
and that's a trailer.
Well, that wasn't the trailer. Those were released as
the release thing. Okay.
So
Sorry.
But there's a lot. So it should be pretty good. Anything else that you wanted to kind of highlight from?
No, I think we hit everything that there were some announcements that took place, like Star Wars casting and the Death of Superman special that to me probably came out of deals at San Diego Comic-Con. So I wouldn't necessarily lump them in, but I think we've covered a lot of the big stuff.
Yeah, and my feeling was that this is, after several years, this is a return to what we expect to see for a San Diego Comic-Con. So
we did have the weird Thanksgiving last year.
I don't think was really had the impact or the feel of the San Diego. Of course,
I'll tell you this though, I watched a lot of the 2020 at the Comic-Con at home. I watched a lot of it because I needed a fix at that point, and plus there was one weekend where we just had really shitty weather the entire weekend. That's something like that's just ideal to put on, but
awesome.
All right, so there we go. We handled the Thor, we handled the San Diego Comic-Con, and let's handle the comic books now. So Steve, tell us about something you're reading that you're enjoying, and you may actually get to 2 books if you speak fast enough.
We're already at an hour, so I might
all right,
cut it
22
short.
minutes.
So I will say, let's go for this one. Defenders Beyond #1. I know that Bill here loves Defenders. I know Caleb loves Defenders. Is a big fan.
It's a wonderfully meta take on this franchise, and I am wondering if you had read the 2021-22 limited series that preceded this.
I did. Okay. I haven't read, and I'm going to tell you, I have not read any Defenders books since Matt Fraction's run in 2020.
Okay, so there's 5 issues there, and you're going to need to read these 5.
Just those 5. Okay, that's fine.
Well, that's what it is. It's the same creative team, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
And there, the other thing too that because one of the new Defenders here is Miss America Chavez. I actually did read her last miniseries that came out towards the end of last year. And that does play a role in why she appears and why she's part of this series now. So I do have some background in it, and they do a good job Blue Marvel, who narrates this and is the leader of the new Defenders Beyond team, does a good job of sort of giving us a recap of, how we got to here and what's,
And as far as I know, the miniseries that preceded this, that's the only one that is picked up on threads from the Marvel Comics 1000 one-shot.
I wouldn't be surprised. Cause
I think it's the only one that's picked up on threads from that.
Defenders likes to be, and always kind of has been, like when they, as a very different type of team up book, a very different kind of group book. So you usually would have Doctor Strange as bringing them together, but actually that's a cool thing about this cover. If you get the cover A, not one of the variants, you actually do get a wraparound featuring all of the previous Defenders.
Oh, that's not all of the previous ones.
Well,
no, there's many more Defenders than that.
Yeah,
many more Defenders.
There's a lot, but
many
lot of the
more
big
Defenders
ones are here.
Yeah,
a lot of the big ones are here.
Many more
and then,
Defenders.
Of course, you
than
have
that.
the new team. Now, there's a couple surprises here. We have the Loki who disappeared at the beginning of Secret Wars in 2015. That is this Loki. This is the Young Avengers Loki who disappeared and was gone. This is a Agent Loki, basically. The this gender shifting super spy version. You have the mother. You have Taya, who is the mother of Galactus. I don't know how you're supposed to pronounce her name. I'm going to say Taya. But she talks like a Valley Girl, which is very interesting. I'm not too sure if that's just Al Ewing or Al Ewing's kind of choice in this. Oh, by the way, it is written by Al Ewing and Javier Rodriguez, so art and words. But it's a very, very interesting team. Of course, Blue Marvel, Miss America Chavez, not Miss Marvel, America Chavez, and Tigra are the main characters. Tigra kind of just shows up towards the end. She just kind of pops in, gets sucked into the whole shenanigan situation. That started, of course, by the floating head of Stephen Strange, who's dead, but he left a sort of in case of my death, look at the spell. That
he's dead, but he'll get better. Yeah,
he'll get better. They all get better. It's Marvel. It's comics. Come on, comics. But it has it's sort of the impetus, or maybe at least the gimmick that brings them all together into Blue Marvel's sort of Sanctum Sanctorum, his own Sanctum Sanctorum, which also happens to be a most multiversal gate repository that he just kind of tinkers with. He's just kind of like, I got one of these, including Gateway to the Neutral Zone. But Eternity shows up. And someone who we haven't seen for a while also shows up at the very end, and it's a very beautiful rendition of this character. I'm not going to.
Can I see it? Can I see it as a spoil? We're not saying it on the audio, but the visual.
People who are watching it will see who it is. It is someone who comes from.
Wow! Look at the synergy with the name. Well,
yeah. Ooh, who could it be?
Wow! Yeah.
Yes. So I'm really impressed. I also love how this is. That Rodriguez draws him. I think that's beautiful. Yep. But yeah, I'm really really intrigued as what they're going to do with this, and it's going to be weird. It promises to be a little bit crazy, a little bit out there, a little bit not what you would normally see in another Marvel team up book. And again, that's why I really like some of the Defenders. Well, most of the Defenders that I've read is that it's a little bit different.
Well, that's the thing is with Defenders, I think Defenders is the ideal team for the occasional miniseries. I think it's the ideal team for that. There was a version of Defenders where it was the Wahaha Justice League team. It was DeMatteis, Maguire, and Giffen doing Defenders, and it was hysterical, but it was 5 issues, and that was the perfect length for it. And I think Fractions was a very limited run. Fearless Defenders was a very limited run. I think these little spurts when there are moments of inspiration or where there is a window where it makes sense for the Defenders to play in the Marvel Universe sandbox, I think that's perfect. I don't think it necessarily at this point in time would work well as an ongoing series, but I just hope we have many of these. But I do think like the short fits and spurts like we've had with the preceding series, and now with this, which I believe is set for 6 issues. I just hope that's the route they go down, because I think it's ideal for that team. Yep.
Yeah. I totally agree with that. I know Fraction's run was just a solid year. It was 12 issues, and that was all they needed, really, to have a really good story arc for all those characters. And it was bizarre and crazy and weird, and I loved it. So I'm hoping.
I also remember there was the Kurt
characters here.
Yeah, there was that Kurt Busiek, Eric Larson run. In the late 90s, maybe early 2000s, and that got terrible reviews, and they were actually posting the reviews on this is the worst comic I've ever read, and that was on the cover of one of the issues. So
that's one way of doing
it seems like they were having fun after a point with that.
Yeah. But, well, I think that's that is one of the joys of Defenders, is that it feels like if people have they've got a crazy weird idea and they want to run just a mix of people that don't necessarily go together.
Yeah, and it's always been that way. It's always been that way. They always characterize themselves in the 70s as the non-team, of characters that are brought together by, almost blind luck and, nothing resembling sense. And, that somehow lasted, into the mid 80s. There are times where there's a bit more cohesion with the team. The end of the original Defenders run was basically a couple of X-Men that Chris Claremont didn't want to use at the time. And a few other ancillary characters, but it is an adaptable format. Again, in the 90s, probably when you came in, was the Secret Defenders time, which was different lineups almost every issue. Just the ideal people that Doctor Strange or then later Dr. Druid thought would be, the right people to choose for a particular mission. So,
interestingly enough, the first Defenders books I read were the ones from I guess it was the late 70s. So
really?
Strange Hulk, Beast, and Silver Surfer?
Well, probably late 70s was probably, you had, Namor went in and out, Strange went in and out, Hulk was kind of a constant, Valkyrie was kind of a constant, Hellcat was kind of a constant, Son of Satan was in the mix, Nighthawk was almost always a constant.
Yeah.
So.
But yeah, it was some interesting stuff there.
Okay.
But yeah, most of the I haven't read or picked up any Defenders books since Fractions run. Yeah. So I'm really looking forward to this, and might have to go back, like you mentioned, to the last.
Definitely the last one.
Mini.
I definitely think you should. Definitely, I'm sounding like a Rain Man here. Definitely.
Yeah,
okay.
So what have you been reading?
Well, I haven't been. That's the issue. I haven't been reading comics. I've been very busy at work. It's been a lot of hours. Just to cut to the chase, I'm in a very high-profile position for a short period of time with the client, and it's a lot of freaking work. So I haven't had a lot of downtime, and when I have had downtime, I'm like this on the couch. So
no mood to pick up a comic,
and it's been too hot to swim outside. It's been too hot to be outside, and there's always TV to watch. So I've been really neglectful of catching up on comics. But I did want to make a point of hitting a lot of the Pride issues from June. So from June, Jesus, 2 months ago here. And one book I wanted to talk about was DC Pride Tim Drake Special #1. This collects the Tim Drake solo stories that appeared in I got my blank on the name, Batman Urban Legends, which introduced the notion that Tim Drake is bisexual.
Yeah.
And so you have the reprints of the 4 stories that he had in that title, and then a brand new story, which is the same creative team as most of the other stories, all through. Megan Fitzmartin has been the writer, and Belen Ortega was the artist on the initial arc and in the new story here. So just cut to the chase, Tim Drake has been investigating a pain cult in Gotham City, and this also involves the kidnapping of children, and one of those was a friend of his from high school that he started to date, in a sense, or attempted to date. And we see Tim in action. He solves that mystery, and later he addresses with Batman at Christmas time, about his the new developments in his sexual life and his personal life. I did feel when those stories came out that there was it felt a bit rushed. It didn't feel thought out, whereas a character like John Kent I thought was very well balanced and very well conceived when they started addressing his sexuality. But I got a nice tying of bow at the end, because the new story features Tim with some of his old Young Justice friends, Impulse and Superboy, and they team up with the Batgirls. And one of the Batgirls right now is Stephanie. Mm-hmm. And prior to Tim dating the new boyfriend Connor, Tim was involved with Stephanie. And it's a very MacGuffin-y comic booky thing. There is a magical white elephant that's causing havoc through Gotham. And if you know about white elephants, there is a tie to LGBT culture. So it's there. But through this mission, Tim and Stephanie finally have a chance to talk. And the most cut to the chase way of addressing his sexuality is in one line here: Stephanie, I don't only like girls. It was just so simple. But Tim is also, a very methodical person, and he shut her out. And I'm certain that there's a lot of people that, when they do take a step, in addressing their true sexuality, they do shut some people out. Mm-hmm. It happens. It happens. Yeah. And here they addressed it beautifully. And another happy ending. And it was just so nice, because the problems that I had with Tim's characterization through those stories, it all tied up in a bow in the last story. And I'm just so happy I got that, because I think he's a wonderful character. I think he's a really, really wonderful character. Stands on his own. There's no one else quite like him. None of the other Robins are like him. He's smarter by far than anybody else in the Batman family, except maybe Barbara. And even then, Barbara operates the computers, but Tim designs them. I was just very satisfied with this, and I was expecting a continuation of my frustrations with how he was depicted, and I got something different. So that I wholeheartedly recommend Tim Drake Special, DC Pride #1.
That's and that's really great. Tim, when I started reading comics, Tim Drake was my Robin. That was the Robin that I had. Yeah. So, they had the miniseries that had come out. Well, not miniseries, really. You had Robin, and then Robin 2.
Yeah.
There's a lot of... It was around the time when they had a lot of,
Robin 2, The Joker's Wild, and Robin 3, Cry of the Huntress.
Cry of the Huntress,
I know my stuff. A
lot of them with those funky covers for Robin #1s, those with the...
And actually, the second Robin miniseries... Those are the best-selling DC comics of the 90s, apart from The Death of Superman and the subsequent return.
The more you know.
Yeah, those were the best-selling DC comics of the 90s, apart from Superman.
Well, I mean, I enjoyed them. So, and I didn't really read a lot of Batman. I read, I was doing Legends of the Dark Knight at that point, because it was... it was weird, it was wacky, it was different, it was not necessarily continuity.
Yeah.
And Robin though was Robin. I liked reading about his adventures apart from Batman. So it was a lot of fun there with Tim Drake. But yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. Okay. My favorite description of Tim Drake, my favorite characterization, is in a comic that he doesn't appear in. It's when the Flash first comes back to life, when Barry Allen comes back in Flash Reborn. and he's asking where everybody is. And this was a point where Bruce was dead, with Batman R.I.P. And they mentioned Robin, not the one you knew, is off chasing him. He's a guy named Tim Drake. You haven't met him. And why isn't he here? Is it because he believes Bruce is alive and he's not going to give up until he finds out? And then Barry has a line that says, "I like him already." And I just love that. I love that line. Yeah.
That's
very yeah.
I remember. Yeah, I do remember that. But yeah.
All right. Well, we are up against the clock. You were right, Steve. One book. You were right.
One book.
I admit where I'm wrong. So we got to start wrapping this up. And when we wrap an episode of the Comic Book Bears podcast up, we do so with a segment we call the Woofs of the Week segment. In the bear community, if you find a fellow attractive, you woof at him. And we do something similar. We woof at a film or TV or a TV program or charitable initiative, anything on the list on that we think you, fair listener, or in this case, viewer, may be interested in sampling. I'll start as I always do with Steve. Steve, what is your Woof of the Week?
Well, last Woof of the Week I had was Dark Side of the 90s, which, crazy, it's wonderful, it's very Now, of course, this past week they had Rush Limbaugh, so I don't know how if that's going to trigger a lot of people trying to watch it. Wonderful, wonderful stuff. So this time around, I'm going to be talking about something that's completely the opposite of that. Harley Quinn is back.
Did you have a chance to watch them?
I watched the first one. I haven't had a chance to watch the second or third, but the first 3 episodes did drop today, Thursday, the 28th of July, on HBO Max. So if you have a chance to watch them, definitely do. You can watch the first 3 episodes right away, and then they're going to be released weekly. Probably, maybe 1 or 2 episodes at a time. They'll sometimes have, do that with their animated series,
yeah.
But
10 episodes this season.
10 episodes, yeah. So I'm really excited with this. The first episode picks right off where season 2 left off, but then kind of creates a new dynamic right away, so that you get kind of a new status quo that may not be where you want everything to be, but is perfect when you have a chaotic show like Harley Quinn. And the biggest thing that I do have to say, and this is kind of like a secondary shout out, is that DC animation is just, consistently amazing. They also released the new Green Lantern movie today, this week, the Jon Stewart Green Lantern one, and then they also this weekend here, the DC Super Pets film comes out, which, so if you like DC animation, you're gonna love Harley Quinn. If you can watch it, and then there's just everything's wonderful that comes out of DC animation lately that that I've been watching. So Harley Quinn, it's great. Good season 3.
You're not going to believe this, but my Woof of the Week was the Rush Limbaugh episode of Dark Side of the 90s. Okay.
Really?
It was remarkably well done. There were some facts I did not know. A thing that's been commented on is we recently came into like the first or second year that he's been dead. It's the anniversary of his death, and it's not heralded because he didn't leave anything of value behind. Seeing the direct correlation with MAGA, with what he established in the 90s and the role of Roger Ailes, and basically how his show was almost like a dry run for Fox News, and just the sheer hypocrisy left and right. It painted him as a villain, and that's how history should know him. And I think that the episode was clear on that, even with people who worked with him closely acknowledge that there were circumstances that were where he was not on the side of the angels, to say the least. So it's a wonderfully constructed hour about a terrible human. Let's put it that way, but it's worth seeing. But just to end on a slightly better note than that, my other Woof of the Week goes out to Mocha de Gorilla, a Gorilla Snot Gel, which is this. This is a hair gel. I'm very fortunate in my mid-50s to still have a very nice thick head of hair. But with that, it's hard to find the right hair gel. and I think I have with Gorilla Snot Gel Mocha de Gorilla, and it smells wonderful. There's a few different scents, and it stays in water. I've gone swimming twice, and I still have some sort of part. Yeah, so that's it's a weird packet. It's a weird bottle, but
yeah.
Yeah.
But it is. Hey, it's gorilla snot. That's what it is.
It's gorilla snot, and it is. It's like I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can see here, but it is like yeah. All right.
Ooh, got a little excited.
Ooh, lordy, Judy's 40.
My usual gel of choice. I'm going back to an oldie but goodie is Suavecito. So I love Suavecito.
Before they changed the formula, to something more icky, like when LA Looks first came out. I mean that stuff. You could fire a bullet on my head and it would bounce off. I mean it was like perfect. Yeah.
Didn't it always look like it had sparkles, like glitter in it, but it didn't actually have glitter?
No,
I don't know. I just remember the bottle just being
it would have that especially when they got the color. Yeah, but the first formulation, then it got like goopier, but the first formulation was like crazy.
It just keeps getting goopier and goopier. I don't know what to do.
But now I have Mocha de Gorilla Snot Gel for my hair. All right. On that very strange note, we're going to wrap this episode up. Again, we are the Comic Book Bears podcast. You can find us on the Twitter and the Tumblr and the Instagrams Comic Book Bears. You can find us on the Facebook as Comic Book Bears Podcast. If you want to listen to us, you can download us through Apple Podcasts, listen to us through Stitcher Radio, or catch us on many of the other podcatching platforms. If you want to write to us, please do so by sending an email to comicbookbears@gmail.com. And if you are watching us on the Facebook Live, thank you for joining us. If you are watching us later on YouTube, thank you for joining us, and please leave a positive review on YouTube. We would greatly appreciate it, and extend those positive reviews onto Stitcher and to Apple Podcasts as well. Always appreciated. Until next time, I'm Bill Zanowitz.
And I'm Steve Morey.
You're going to hear a woof and an explosion if you're listening to the audio version. Take care, everyone.